Good morning, and good morning. Yes, it's 9:01. I know it's 9:01. How are you doing? I tell you, I've been having a good week. Hope you all have had a great week as well. It's Friday. It is the weekend, baby. What you got planned? What are your plans for the weekend? I um I tell you, this weekend is packed with so many things. I'm supposed to help do some service stuff tomorrow at the Global Learning Academy. So I'm going to do that for a couple of hours. I want to go to the Arts Festival, which is a big to do every single year downtown. And then there's a Greek festival. There's just so many things going on all in one weekend. And it's so funny to now is the time in which they change daylight savings time. We changed from daylight savings time to it being regular time. For those of us who are affected by it, we just go through this disorientation of trying to get oriented. The time change really does me in because I find that I'm tired faster because there's something about the way the light hits us that makes us feel more energetic and able to do things. But once darkness comes, that's when our bodies become more in a tired and sleep mode. So I know personally for me, that is the deal. That is definitely the deal. So I'm trying to imagine come Sunday, just because I have that hour, I prefer the regular time. Just keep it the regular time and just leave it like that, as opposed to switching back and forth. So I don't know what they'll end up doing, but it's hard for our bodies to get acclimated. We only get like what 6 months of being, okay, and then we have 3 weeks to try to readjust our bodies and our psyche and our just our sleepiness from not being so tired. But I don't know, I always remember it being a time, especially when I lived in New York, that I didn't particularly care for it, because being in New York and it's really dark, but then it's also here, it's also here in Florida. But I found a poem this morning that really spoke to, you know, um, days, weeks, which become months into years, and how that's a time period that we must deal with, even if we're not interested in dealing with it. And we just try to think that the world will just always be the same in terms of how we go through it. And for me, I think I even wrote on my introduction that for me, I feel like the days are going faster and faster. That's what I wrote. That's what I believe. I believe that our days are going fast, which means the years are going fast. And then there's the realization, and I think I spoke with this before, is that I realize, like so many other people will realize, that there's more time behind us than what we have ahead of us. Unless you're, really a young person, you don't, and true, we don't know the time or the day or the hour in which, we will be called home, but we do know that eventually we will leave. We will go someplace. Um, so I'm always thinking about, what am I doing? What am I currently doing with my time? What am I doing? How am I dealing with it? And if a day is important, how do I make that day important to myself? So it's just not a day that was marked in time but had no real meaning. Yeah, I do service and all those kinds of things, but sometimes I have to have some me time. And how do I deal with that? Do I do it? Do I make that me time? So anyway, I found this poem by David Harris, and it says, where have the years gone? It is a question. It's a question. And it says, we fail to see how fast the years have traveled on, until one day we are prompted by a song. The years seemed like yesterday, yet it was so long ago. It says, we then look back in an absent thought, asking, where have the years gone? And there was a message yesterday on, well, I guess it must have been, it was a post, it wasn't a message, it was a post on Facebook, and they were asking, like, what was the best, band of the 1970s. Well, for me, I said Earth, Wind, and Fire. And then as I looked through, there were other people who said the same thing. So, at the time when I looked at it, I think it said 579 people said it was Earth, Wind, and Fire. But then they also had Aerosmith. They had I'm trying to think, Ohio Players. There were a lot of bands on there. And so when you think about your life, those days mark times and periods in your life that you did things, or that things became associated with some of the music that you heard. It might be the dances that were done. It might have been the sayings that were out. It might have been some of the commercials on TV. But those were the days and the periods in which we were all about doing something, or we all about listening enough that we connected it to those days. And so looking at the days ahead of you, or even today, what do you associate your time with? And so I looked at, well, what is the day? And it says the day is a 24-hour period, and hours as in a unit of times. And it says reckon from one midnight to the next, corresponding to the rotation of the earth on its axis. And it says it's a particular period of the past, or an era. And you think about that. You think about how so many things are connected to where you are now, but where you are now, you haven't fully connected into where you go further or out. And that's why, you ask yourself questions, what do I have to do today? What's on for tomorrow? What will I be doing the rest of today? What will I plan to do the weekend? Those sometimes become difficult because we are pulled by the many things there are to do. And so we sometimes get kind of caught up. We get caught up in one thing, and we never get to do some of the other things that are in that line of things that we one desire to do. My D today is desire. What do I desire to do in my time today? And it says, first of all, let me say that the day talks about the time, the period, the point of now. It could be an era. It could be an Enoch. It could be a generation, which means that was a time period for them. It could be the daylight and the daytime. It could be it says the dawn, or the dawning of. It could be daybreak. Sometimes I'm a person who wakes up early in the morning, early, just to do certain things. It may be to pray. Sometimes it's to meditate. Sometimes I didn't sleep well, so I didn't really get a good night's sleep. So I'm thinking about, okay, so what is wrong? What is wrong? And we try to fix it in a quick attention. But if it's still troubling us, then it's going to consume part of our day to figure out how to get through it. Our days are just that. We have to get through them. And sometimes they pull us. This, I didn't say we was pushing anything. Sometimes we're pulled by what has already been placed on us from the previous day, previous month, previous year, or years. And it says that we become, it could be, the period that we're dealing with only in the morning or only in the evening, but it's still part of that day. It says it could be our sunrise and our sunset of the day. They also use it as a period of when people's lives end. When the sunrise was when they were born, and the sunset is the day that they actually, left the world of the living. And it says it can be dawn to dark. It can be the daytime, the broad daylight. These are all descriptions of what the day is, or it could be in the light of day. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Good morning, C. Salisbury Williams. I love that name. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. But anyway, good morning. How are you? How is your day going? That's the word of the day. Day. We're looking at our day. So when I break the word down, and I'll first ask you, are you stuck in yesterday, last night, earlier today? Where are you? Where are you? That's what we have to ask. My D, my first D in the word of day, I use it as desire. What do I desire to do today? Now, I didn't say what I did yesterday was going to carry over, but sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. But my desire are the things that are strong enough and highly prioritized enough on my things to do that it will get some attention. And sometimes what we have to do may get all of our attention. We don't even have to worry about it. Everything goes to that, all of our energy. And it says, I literally like it when it gets dark at 7, not 5. Me too. Absolutely. I'm already troubled. That's why I woke up with the word day when they said, oh, this is the Sunday that we turn back our clocks. I don't want another hour of sleep. I'd rather just stay light as long as it can. But they claim, it's supposed to be better biologically. I think it messes up our equilibrium for a while. I think I saw that on the TV this morning, how things happen to people where they're changing back and forth between the two time frames. But it says my desire is what I have to do during the course of a day. And I said desire is a strong feeling of wanting or having something or wishing for something to do or to happen. And it says, the other adjectives, of course, is that I wish and I want, I fancy, I have an inclination to do, an aspiration, an impulse. Sometimes impulse will just rock our whole day. Good morning, Miss Rosie. How are you doing? Happy Friday to both of you. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I know there's some other people watching. Happy Friday to everybody. And I'm hoping this Friday before the daylight changes that you have a great day and a great weekend, at least Friday and Saturday, okay? The desires also talks about the impulse, the preference, what's your preference to do for today, the yearning, the longing, the craving, because sometimes you may even have a craving to do something. Good morning, Maurice. How are you today? Our word is day. And I started off with desire. What do I desire to do in the course of my day? For you may have a date with your wife planned for this evening. You may be going, maybe to the arts festival or the Greek festival. There may be things that are on your agenda. But the idea is that you plan your day according to how you feel and what it is that you want to do. You know, it also talks about the desire being, the need, because sometimes we have a need to do something and we do it. It says a burning, and then where there's some eagerness to how we may approach something. Deliverance. Oh, I love that. Sometimes we do need to be delivered from what it is that we're already doing. I think I had a couple of friends that would call me and they would always say, I know your head's in a book. I know that you're someplace reading something, writing something. I'm coming by. And they'll just come by and pick me up just because they know my house is my enchanted place where I can sit down and I can write something and read something and come up with something for the next day or whatever I have to do. But sometimes you do need deliverance. You do need some people that see that you need to change. The desire is also our itch, our burning, our engagement, our enthusiasm, because sometimes we can be real enthusiastic about something that we want to do in the course of our day. It says it might be our determination, and it may be our proclivity, meaning that we just, this is just who we are. This is what we want to do. I do have a date night planned. See, I knew that. I knew that. And sometimes I think that's a way to look at how you plan your days. You plan your days according to what you and maybe it is special people, your family, your wife, your your husband, your date, your boyfriend, or whatever. You plan those things out to make it special. And or you even plan. I plan stuff with my daughter. Sometimes she'll call me and say, "What you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm working doing this." She said, "Well, can you break away? Can you do something with me?" And I, let's do it. Let's do it. She loves to go over to Foley. It says, "At my age, Miss Sandra, I desire to have peace of mind, spirit, health, finances, sleeping well at night." Me too. Me too. At my age, I do the same thing. You know, I believe that when I close my door coming in from, like last night, I did the citywide revival. When I came in, I felt really good. It was such a good message. It was a great message all week. I missed Monday, and sorry that I missed Monday now, but it is online. But for me, I want peace. I don't want to be um, placed in a position that I'm worried about anything, including finances. And yesterday, before I went out, I received my property taxes, and my property taxes went up 400. I think it was $420. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't move. I didn't make anything, that makes you think I should be paying you any more money. But everything that you're starting to receive in the mail pretty much is setting up your day of being good or bad if you allow it. And so someone told me, said, call them and find out, did somehow they miss seeing your homestead. And I said, but you don't have to apply for homestead every year. It should be what it is. Am I empty? That's what the question was. I am not empty. I am not empty. But it asked you that question. That was what came from our service last night. Are you empty? It says you did good in your recordings. Oh, thank you so much. But the point is that you have to sometimes go back in the course of your day to readdress some of the things that won't give you your peace. That's where I was going. See, I want to have peace. And so my peace has to be dealt with during the course of the day. So at night I can sleep, and get a restful sleep, and make it where I'm actually coming up the morning looking okay and ready to aggressively face whatever I am in this situation. Good morning, Sherry. Loving that I am not empty. Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's right. We do not want to be empty. We want to be, but any of us in the course of a day, something could hit us and make us empty out really quick. Feeling like we're lost, feeling like we have anxiety, or we're frustrated, or we're kind of angst about something that someone has done to us, said to us. It happens. It happens. We can't say that we don't occasionally have to walk through that shadow of rough terrain is what I call it. But on the other side of it is life. Just saying, what, I'm gonna give it. For me, I give it to God. For somebody else, they may give it to Allah. They may give it to whatever the Pope is, and all of those, is still God, but however they address it, that's how it's done. But when I move on in the word of day, and day being, the 24-hour clocks that we live in, those clocks it says reflect, not revert. That's right. Reflect, not revert. That's really good. We have to really look at how the day progresses. And so my day, I also have to look at my attitude. That's my A for day, is my attitude. How do I check my attitude so that even when someone feels that I might have overstepped, how do I take whatever it is that they said? Because every once in a while we may laugh, we may use a word, we may something that triggers what in somebody else, something that makes them feel that we weren't right, and we might not have been right, but we didn't know what would have caused that. But accomplish, that's good. Anticipation, those are both great words, because sometimes we do have to anticipate what it is that could happen before we say things or do things. But our accomplishments are what we plan to do. That's in the course of a day. But sometimes our days carry over. Like I know for a fact that I have a friend right now online that's working on completing something that requires her to put a lot of day and probably night in the course of that 24 hours of getting to the point where she's complete, she's finished. And that's when you have something that you put it out there because you know that it was given to you to do, but you have to figure out how to get it done. So for me, I said attitude. Maurice just said arrange and accomplish. But attitude, it says, is settle a way of thinking, settling my way of thinking. Okay, because if I'm thinking funny and I'm thinking funny all day long, that means I'm really convoluted in my thinking for the day, because I can't get anything done. If your mind is all caught up in an attitude that isn't good, it won't serve you well. So it says, attitude is to settle a way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically one that is reflected in a person's behavior. But if I make it where it's not just their behavior, but my behavior, then it also makes it where it might be a tough thing to deal with. You know, if I just leave it as that it happened, sometimes you just have to say it happened. You know, you may want to say, I give it to the Lord. I can't handle that. I'm gonna give it up. It's not mine anymore. And achieve is good. But anyway, it says when we have an attitude, it says we're looking at our own point of view. Are we not? It's our view. It's no one else's view. Okay. Sometimes people may try to explain their view to you, but if you're not receptive of it, or if you're not even talking with them, then you don't know their view. Then it might be something of an assumption of what you think their views are. Accept the day. Sometimes we do have to accept the day. That we have to accept every day that we had, because we had it, regardless of how good, bad, or indifferent it is. We had what we had. But it says typically we're going to look at the viewpoint, the vantage point. Like, how does it serve you? Mess up your day or make your day beautiful? Sometimes we can't even get there. It says also the frame of mind. How are you feeling about what it is that you're doing or not doing? Okay. It talks about your way of thinking, your way of looking at things. Because sometimes we can have a twisted way of looking at things, and you have to get someone who's not biased towards you, but able to see that your bias or your way of thinking may be off. And sometimes the light will go on because it wasn't your thought, it was them helping you with how you were thinking. Every once in a while, you do need somebody to help you. And then it also talks about your angle, your slant, your approach, your own perspective. And sometimes we may carry our perspective throughout a day and miss getting anything done just because we're so busy, caught up in what someone did or what they didn't do, or what you should have done and what you didn't get done. Okay? That whole thing, just based on the fact that you got caught up on one thing and nothing else got done because it all surrounded that one thing. It said, acknowledge the day that you are having, good, bad, or indifferent. That's right. And sometimes I do that. Sometimes I say, okay, this is not a good day. Okay. Or this is a good day. This is a wonderful day. When I was in grad school studying for my doctorate, I was certifiably crazy, and I knew it. But I had a praying friend, and he would always say, hey, listen, you're going to get it. And he would always call me egghead. He said, egghead, you're going to get it, because that's how you are wired. We're wired the way we're wired. We have, through life, we learn an approach that works for us. And sometimes people that stay in bad relationships, at jobs that don't give a darn about them, or just, working on teams that you the only worker, there's a reward and a non-reward for that kind of behavior. The reward is it speaks to what we've gotten used to in a day. Okay, it speaks to what we've gotten used to. So we don't expect anything more. And as a used to be teacher, one of the things it says is sometimes if everything is always the same, if the child always has been reprimanded and told that they were naughty, all those kinds of things, you catch them in the moment when they're none of those things. They're not naughty and they're on track, and that reinforces what it is that is expected. And sometimes that's what we need, just for somebody to redirect us gently, because grown-ups form attitudes. Children not necessarily. So they just, wow, you really think so? And you might see just a child coming out of the fact that somebody recognized them, somebody seeing that they were doing good, and it was embraced. And that sometimes we need that even as adults. When somebody does something for us that we didn't expect, thank them and thank them well. Thank them well. So then when I move on to my why, and finishing up, it had some other little sayings that go along with attitude. I always talk about our orientation, our approach to things. Because if we look at something that's always been a negative, if we see something positive in it, we may miss it. Even though we saw it, we missed it because everything else was negative. And that's our lives. A lot of times we live on an edge thinking that somebody going to push us, so we going to jump. No, don't jump. Don't jump. Wait, hold, as they say, breathe a little bit, think a little bit more. Take your time with it, and don't jump over the edge just because you see something that looks like it's wrong. Wait, make right of it. Make right of it. Figure out how to get it right. Figure out how to get it right. It says it also looks at opinions and your ideas, your beliefs, because our belief system pretty much can set us up for success or failure. So if you hang around with people who always believe on the negative, then you're more apt to see the negative more clearly than the positive. And sometimes the positive may be so small that we miss it. Once again, we miss it. It says that we also can have a feeling where we've convicted others or they've convicted us. So therefore, there's no communication. We can't come together because he over there, she over here. When I used to do marriage and family counseling, that's one of the things I would ask. Well, where are you today? Are you talking? Are you cordial? Are you holding hands? Are you giving eye contact? And every once in a while, they would say, nope, she cussed me out this morning. He slammed the door. So sometimes you have to find out what is causing the problem, because if the problem continues being the same thing, then you have to go back long enough in that issue to work out the kinks, work out what's wrong, if people are being fair and honest. And then your attitude is also your thinking and your own personal interpretation. And I say personal because, we all have our own way of thinking. And my last letter, which is the Y, what you write for your why? What would you write for your why? What about you, C? What about you, Maurice? What would you write for your why? For those that are, I know there's other people watching, but what would you put down for your why? And that's not that's not WHY. It's Y, the letter Y. What would you use? I'm gonna wait 1 second and I'm gonna do mine. Well, personally, okay, I'm gonna tell you personally, I put down what was my yesterday. Because my yesterday sets up my today. I don't care what anybody says. You always look at, okay, what did I complete yesterday? What do I have to continue from yesterday? So I said yesterday. And my yesterday it was a day that I did something that was either significant, something that was tough to do, uh, something that was easy to do. And it may have been a course of many things in that one day, just that one day. Yield. I love yield. I'm yielded. Yes. That means I stopped. I stopped. I took caution. I didn't run through anything. I just held back, waiting for me to determine what I needed to do. And sometimes we need that too. We need to yield. Well, in my yesterday, I said on the day, which is the day before today, and since we're looking at day, it says, what was my pastime? What did I finish? What was my earlier life and how I dealt with that day? Because maybe that day was so horrible that I'm going to yield, or I'm going to hold up on doing that again today because that took up too much time. Or maybe I completed something yesterday. Then today I can rally in the fact that that's done. I can move on. I can move on. This is remembering that you are important for each day God gave you. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a wonderful summation. That no matter what day you're given, every day should be an important day to you. And it says, yesterday is time gone by, you know. So you can think of it, but you don't continue trying to stay in it. It's gone. You can't do anything with it. And like I was reading, and I think I even saw this online where it talked about your accomplishments. Okay, once you've accomplished them, they become old, and people only look at what you're currently doing. Even at that, they may go back and give you a quick summation. Oh yeah, you did so and so and so. Yes, but what are you doing now? It's understandable. It's understandable because we must move forward. We cannot live in our past, no matter what we've accomplished, no matter what. And you know what? And even when it's time for us to say goodbye to the world, whoever writes up your obituary, and just in case you don't, you hope they can remember at least 3, 4 things. You know, you hope. Um, that's all. But it was your yesterday that it was done in. And they may only have known you for 2 years. And what you did was more significant of years prior to you even knowing people. So, you just never know how your yesterday can affect your today, but that's only allowed by what you give it. If you give it that time, it says your yesterday is also essentially your recent past, because then there's the past beyond what was recent. It may be in your distant past. Okay. It may be in your childhood, in your early teens, in your years of your 20s and 30s and 40s, but it's not today, because today brings you the wiseness of what yesterday brought you. The wiseness. I believe that we are more wise today than what we were yesterday, because yesterday most of us learned something. We learned something, and we can move on with it. Okay. So it also talks about what becomes our good history. That means things that we can endorse. Okay. Because all of us, I don't care who we all got some things that we're not that proud of. Okay. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be, the best leaders at everything, because some things we failed on in the past, but we might be good leaders in the future of it if, in fact, we learned from it. We learned. We learned from our mistakes. So it talks about the yesterday being, good for old times, our history, and in the old books. I always used to read the old books at Christmas, and they always talk the days of yore, the days of yore. And I always thought that was like Eeyore. But yore is just meaning older time frame, older time period. So really, when we look at our day, we look at our day in such a way that speaks to what the poem says. Eventually, it will be, those days will become months, and the months will become years. And so it says, where have the years gone? It will not just be the day, but it would be the years that are behind us. And it says, I'm going to read it again for those who weren't here earlier. It says, this is by David Harris. It says, we fail to see how fast the years have traveled on until one day we are prompted by a song. The years seemed like yesterday, yet it was so long ago. We then look back in an absent thought, asking, where have the years gone? Listen, I'm going to ask you, where will your days go? Where will this day go? What will you do with this day? Will you try to reminisce only on yesterday and this day be a washout? I say every day, make it your own. Make it your own. Do what you want to do, because that was my opening. My desire is that I do things that fits what I want to do, and that I would do it in such a way that my attitude would be as good as possible, and that I remember that I did make it through yesterday to get another day today. Listen, I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. I look at what I do as not only being fun, but it keeps my mind right. You know, that I'm constantly researching something, looking up something, seeing how it can make sense for me. And hopefully you can join in and it makes sense for you. If you know of anybody that just wants to deal with the fact that occasionally we do get stuck, and I bring up things that are relatable to our current life. You know, this started with the daylight savings time when they told me this morning, I don't want to turn my clock back. But that's the reality. We all going to turn our clocks back. It says, amen. Live life with joy and happiness. Absolutely. Well, look, I will see you on Monday. I want you all to have a good weekend. Enjoy every moment of your day. That means today, tomorrow, and all the days after that. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. If you don't do anything else, hit like or love, and certainly hit share if you don't mind. Hit that share button. Let it be that somebody knows that I do what I do because I love you, and I hope that you love me back. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.